Have you ever wished your junk journal pages, whether they're book pages or something else, have you wished that they were stronger, smoother, or more forgiving, wouldn't break? Yeah, me too. So that's where Gesso comes in. In this video, I'll show you what Gesso is. I'll talk about the different types and, show you some creative ways to use Gesso. I've been playing with it and researching. Gesso is basically a primer. Artists have used it for centuries to prepare wood panels or canvas before they start painting. Modern gesso is a mixture of chalk or gypsum with white pigment and an acrylic binder. Today, most of us use an acrylic gesso, and it comes in white, it comes in black, and it comes in clear. I suppose you can also purchase some pre-tinted gesso, but it's just as easy. I'll show you in this video how to tint it yourself. This is clear, and as you can see in the bottle, it doesn't look clear, but it actually is. And the other one is you can't see through it, and you can add more than one layer of gesso to make it less and less see-through. Think of gesso as your reset button. It preps, it protects, and it gives your papers new possibilities. So here are a few ideas of what you could do with the gesso on a page. And next Monday, for Torn Paper Tuesday, I'm going to use all these pages and make a journal with them. So you'll see the different ways to use them. So there is no gesso on this page, the top part, and there is gesso on the bottom. And you can see the different way it takes. It soaks into the paper when there's no gesso on top. Now, here I used white gesso, and then I used gelatos over top. This is a heavier gesso. You can see the ridges. They're very obvious. Even more so when you put some water on it and let the watercolor flow. And again, it doesn't soak in because gesso is a primer. It creates a barrier. Yeah, a barrier for the whatever you're putting on top to stop. You see that's a gelato, and I'm trying to highlight the ridges, and that's possible too. If you decide you don't like the ridges, you can use some sandpaper, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Now this is a fragile paper, and I've left the middle part open. I could have put the clear gesso in the middle part. I could tint the outside. So this is Distress Oxide, and I'm going to put a pretend label there in the middle. There it is. And it starts to soak into the paper because, again, there's no gesso there. So I've decided if I want to put something in the middle, I'm going to try and carefully put a little bit of the gesso in the middle of the label part. But in the meantime, I can use Distress ink to tint the white gesso. Now it's not white, it's kind of blue. Here I go, carefully trying to fill it in. And as I'm doing it, I'm thinking to myself, I could have put the clear gesso in the middle and then stamped the label. And that I might do for the journal I'm going to build next Tuesday. Tuesday's videos, I don't talk in them. It's for quiet crafting, and there's usually some part of tearing paper. So that's why it's called Torn Paper Tuesday. I have a whole playlist. I think maybe there's 12 videos now. So here is the white gesso, and I'm adding some re-inker distress color to the gesso. making the gesso slightly green. Here we go. Mix it together. And then I'll put it on top of a different piece of paper. This one. You can see I've already added some of this on the outside. And so I'm edging the page with the gesso, and quite a heavy amount of gesso, because this paper is very fragile and the gesso gives it some extra sturdiness. What's next? I can just put a little bit of color on one side of the page. I can use a stencil and then color. So that's the stencil. And it's almost like modeling paste, but not as thick. This is a page that is covered with gesso, and I'm doing a smooshing movement of the watercolor like we would with distress ink. And again, because it has been primed by the gesso, it isn't going to show through the end of the page. Now here's a very heavy stencil that I did, and I'm trying to show you that it has ridges, bumps. You have the option of using some sandpaper and removing the ridges so it becomes a very smooth surface. I was having fun with doing the extra ridges on all the papers, so there's not much there that is smooth of the papers that I've been working on. I'm painting just the one part. Now, here is distressing, our usual vintage paper color. Oh, I forget the name. And you can put it on with a sponge, you can put it on with a brush. And if you want to, you can spritz some water on and try to get it to react. And putting water into my hand didn't work so well, so I decided to spray it on and spread it out. So now this paper that was white with the gesso now looks aged. I used that two different styles of colors of the paper in the woven piece you just saw. I made that last Tuesday. And if you want to see how it's made, but I think we already did that in grade 1 or 2. And if you didn't, it's not hard. I'm going to use that woven paper as a cover for my journal page. Now this are very big, very textural splotches. I crumpled up parchment paper, dipped it in the gesso, and now I'm just putting on top. Once this is dry, like this takes a little bit longer to dry. The more gesso there is, the more it takes to dry, more time. For Tuesday, I'm going to put a different color on the white splotches. So we'll see how that turns out. And there is a lighter layer of gesso. Some are heavier, some are more textured, some are faint. This is an example of, there's 2 layers there. Now this one is really interesting. The ridges, those are significant ridges. The page itself is heavier because of the amount of gesso on it. But as you can see, it supports the weight of the gesso ridges. And it really looks cool with a little bit of watercolor added. Now this one has more watercolor to the left. That is a layer of heavy gesso, and I used a wax seal implement to make the indentations. Now that is I'm going too fast for. You get the idea. I think you get the idea. And here is the woven strips that I tore. And here will be the paper woven and an inside one that will be the junk journal cover. So if you're interested in seeing what I end up doing with all those pages that I've been playing with to enhance them, and obviously there'll be some tearing, join me on Tuesday. I won't do any talking, but you'll get the idea. This video is sped up because I'm slow. And I wanted to try and keep it as close to this video, as close to 10 minutes as possible. The videos that I do on Tuesdays that have no talking, they're real time. They're not sped up at all. So it's easier to see what I'm doing and follow along if you choose to. Or that playlist that I've created as Torn Paper Tuesday is really to craft in community. So you feel like somebody else is in the room. Yeah, there's all those pages that I'm going to adapt to a journal. And I look forward to seeing you. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Next Friday, I'm going to try another technique. Yeah, junk journal technique. In the meantime, take care. Bye for now.